everybody. Welcome to the Sharon and Joe Show. My name is Sharon.
Hi, Tribe. My name is Joe.
So Joe and I are sitting here with our Dunkin' Donuts, and they're so good, these coffees. You picked it out tonight. So what is it? Tell our viewers what Sharon and Joe drink.
I'm the idiot that complains about how expensive coffee is, like at Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts, and stands in line for 15 or 20 minutes. So I boycotted Starbucks. So now I just switch seats in the Titanic and I go to the Dunkin' Donuts and bitch about how expensive the coffees are. But yet I'm the sucker that keeps going back. So today we got a medium because we saved a couple bucks. We felt guilty and got a medium latte with a shot of white mocha in it. It's pretty good. It's like Christmas coffee.
Yeah, it's really good. I recommend it.
Yeah, it was the first snowfall over here in the northeast section of the United States. So it was kind of nice, to have.
Yeah, I thought it was nice. We got our coffees.
And then Sharon, see how addicts, we justify our behavior. So then Sharon gets this Dunkin' Donuts app. And after probably spending a couple $100, we might get like a free large coffee or something. But I let her do her thing. She's in denial.
Well, no, this is the thing. I do not have a whole bunch of these rewards cards. But my daughter first got the Dunkin' Donuts app. And she's like, oh, you got to get it. You can get free coffee, free this, free that. And I'm like, oh, really? So I check it out. And I'm like, geez, Joe and I don't even want to tell people how often we go.
Like twice, 3 times a week.
Yeah, sometimes more.
Yeah, it's bad, you guys. We gotta get honest with you.
But just today, I have earned enough for a free coffee. So this is why, see, Joe laughs at me and he hates it when he's about to pay and I put up my phone for the beep, beep. But hey, we got a free coffee already.
After spending how much money on the coffee? It's like a way they track you.
This is the difference between Joe and I. I try to be positive. Joe has the man after us.
Like I have the recovery background, like of being an addict and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, so what you're saying is like, if I buy an 8-ball of cocaine, then I'm going to actually save more money in the long run instead of buying a teen or something.
All right. So guys, the coffee that Joe got us tonight was great. And the app is great too.
And then we took a ride in my hoopty.
Oh,
Sure, never heard those words, you guys. Like a hoopty. It's a hoopty ride. So a couple years after my ex stole our car, I had to get a car. So I found one for $1,800. And, it's banged up bad, man. It's got no power steering, one headlight, but it gets me back and forth to where I need to go, and that's all that matters. I don't got a car payment. I could just pay liability on it. But yeah, I told her yesterday, I was like, we'll take the hoopty. And she's like, what the hell's a hoopty? I was like, you know what the hoopty is?
No, I've never heard that. Is it just me?
Yeah, I think the listeners would know what a hoopty is.
We used to see Joe, though. When I first came out here, I had never experienced this before. We'd go somewhere like, say, Dunkin' Donuts, and he leaves the car running. It's just everything's unlocked, windows down, cars running while we're inside the store.
I got my wallet on me and my cell phone. So there's not. If they tried to steal it, they wouldn't get far because, imagine in the heat of the moment, you jump in a car and try to drive away. It has no power steering, and the one front tire is super low. They'd crash in an instant, and I just go up to them and laugh.
All right. Well, I guess maybe that's true.
It's got its perks. Like today, it was really cold, so I kept the car running, and it was warm in the car when we got back out.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. All right. We won't complain about your hoopty for too much longer, but luckily we only have one hoopty.
Hey, this banter that we do is better than what it used to be a year and a half ago. Didn't you tell me you listened to one of our videos? And Sharon is such a dork. And I mean in a good way because she's a total intellect. She used to have notebooks full of topics and stuff. So there was a page and a half of the intro, man. It was by the time she was done, I was exhausted. I was ready to fall asleep.
Well, yeah, but you partly wrote that. Yeah, when this was I was listening earlier today from a video Joe and I made a year ago, and I could not believe how long the intro is in. It was literally hi, my name is Sharon, and my birthday is this, and my favorite color. It just seemed so overdrawn.
The psychological profile.
Yeah, I did. And then, so now it's just, although I still think we need to have something a little bit better than just Sharon and Joe.
Yeah, I'm cool about opening up about our addiction of Dunkin' Donuts.
All right, now it's out there, guys. We're addicts. Although, unfortunately, we're not, see, Joe's literally about to take a sip of his right now. We're not doing anything about our addictions, and mine's all done. I drink it all.
You're justifying it by saying you got some app, and after we spend $100, we get a free coffee.
That's right. I got the free coffee.
At least I can.
Hey, maybe I will go get my free coffee tomorrow. Yeah, and I'll come home and be like, look, this is free.
You want to know how bad Sharon is, you guys? A couple of weeks ago, she was talking about the one time there was no money in the account because Jackass, her ex, like had spent it all on gambling or this and that, and they didn't have enough money for groceries. And she was like, like if I would have had that app, I could at least got the kids like a free breakfast sandwich. And I was just like, my God, are you sick?
All right. See, all right. I think you just proved that you have a really, really good sense of humor. That was good. You had me going. I'm like, where is he going with this?
That's where I went, and right to the truth.
All right.
Speaking of which, what do we want to talk about tonight?
You know what?
The truth.
Well, yeah, but what I want to talk about is anger. And now that you have me all riled up.
See if you can practice with
yeah,
your
let's see. Joe and I have joked before. We're like, oh, wouldn't it be so funny if we had a fight and recorded that for the show?
Oh, yeah. People like, oh, of course. No, we're pretty real, you guys. I mean, for the most part, I truly try to stay accountable. And my experience is what it is, and that's what I share. I don't speak from a pulpit. I don't think there's only one teacher, and that teacher to me is God, and I'm a student just like everybody else.
It is fun doing this, having our little date night and chit-chatting.
Yeah, that's date night we were supposed to have it yesterday. We usually do it on the weekends. We didn't have it yesterday, so we had to get together on a Sunday to make the Monday's video. So here we are. It's about 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, and you guys will be listening hopefully in the morning.
Yes, so
anger.
I guess, yes, anger. So what we thought we'd talk about today is anger towards the narcissist. So not how the narcissist feels, how we feel, because there are times, and I guess this is primarily in a recovery stage, just because I don't know that you could really get to...
Oh, I've been angry plenty of times.
But how could you, I guess what I'm saying is, do you think you could... I'm thinking if I'm still with a narcissist, how I could deal with my anger while I'm still with the narcissist. It seems primarily like something for after.
Well, no, there's plenty of times I was angry, but it somehow in my mind, my codependency and my low self-worth, it was my fault, or it was like something that I did. It kind of blew away. Anger is not a solution to really anything.
I just want to back this up back a second. When I'm talking about anger, I get what you're saying.
In this case, you're talking about in recovery. This is
more like, I think I am more specific with that because, there were times I was angry with my ex, plenty of times, but I wasn't angry when I was with him to the point where I could really go anywhere with that, emotionally or psychologically, where I could just kind of examine myself. It had to be when he was
afterwards.
After, yeah.
No, I agree 100%. So what do you want to talk about anger and recovery?
So I guess what I want to talk about is, both you and I, we're at the point now where we're pretty recovered. Things come up here and there.
I don't know if you ever get over anything. Yeah. What we learn to do is adapt and grow. And if you have some insight and a little bit of empathy and you got some honesty, that you could learn to adapt and grow, and that's what we're doing. We continue to adapt and grow. I would hope that if I've ever met the narcissist, that I would adapt and grow because I have the ability to, and that's what I try to do. I try to evolve and level up to different, forms of consciousness.
Joe and I are very much into really pushing ourselves to be the best that we can be. We also push each other in that regard as well. As we go through this, so I say we're healed. I do think we are. I get what you're saying though, Joe, but to the point where it's not an everyday part of our life, where I'm not encumbered by my ex all the time.
The CPTSD for me, the symptoms have subsided.
Yeah.
And I've learned, I've been given tools and practice those tools. And sometimes I don't because I'm human, but for the most part, the hypervigilance and the fear and all that garbage that goes with it has subsided. If it didn't pass, none of us would recover from narcissistic abuse.
I feel really blessed, incredibly blessed, to be able to get to a point, because I didn't always know that this was going to be possible, get to a point where I can have a new life. The problem, though, is that, and this is what I want to specifically speak on tonight, is as, and I know this happens to you too, Joe, so I'm assuming it happens to other people. As you're, living your life, your new normal, every once in a while, there'll be like this. Yeah.
Yeah, and it comes and it's like, man, it hits you. And you got to learn how to deal with it and look at it, I mean, just to give you a little bit of a foreshadow, I was told a long time ago when I was going to counseling that my counselor, and same with my mentor in recovery, they would talk in terms of like parables almost. And she drew this iceberg, and she said, "Okay, Joe, so imagine this iceberg in a water, like the Titanic, and you see that little tip that's sticking out of the ocean." She goes, "That's anger." She goes, "The base, the 2/3 of the iceberg that you don't see underneath the water is fear. So just giving a little bit of foreshadow of where I'm going to go from my experience with anger is that that's just the surface. And in order to adapt and grow for Joe, like I had to look deeper within.
Did you have a point at the beginning when you were first going through it where you were angry all the time or a lot of the time? And has that changed? Where would you say you are now if that happened to you?
My experience was that I was more afraid because the narcissist that I was with was a sociopath, and she was very, very dangerous. And I was never scared of her physically. I could break her like a pencil. She was capable of anything. Nothing ever was shocking. Like she was a criminal, like a hood, and didn't like if in order to hurt me, if she had to throw her own self under the bus, she would. And she was very dangerous in that regard. And I found myself being more afraid at the beginning of my recovery when I was at no contact than anything else.
Now, is this like every day or
Oh
occasional?
yeah,
Okay.
every minute.
Okay.
It was the hypervigilance. It wasn't just her. It was the result of what happened was the electric got shut off. I have 2 boys at home. I got 2 cats, a dog, her mother.
Those are all trauma triggers.
Yeah, and then it's just like, what happens if I lose my job? And then I got the car stolen. And legally it wasn't because we're technically married. Even though she didn't need the car, she had hers, and I paid hers off. And it was agreed that I would take the car as part of the disillusionment.
Well, all of that, I mean, that's just for people listening, oh, that's horrible. That's terrible that happened. But when you're saying it, I know it's not just that these bad things happen. They affected you deeply psychologically.
Oh,
and
yeah.
today too, like there's
That's
like a
what I
trauma
mean.
response from that.
It's like, I don't know if you ever get over anything. However, I've adapted and changed, and I needed God to do that for me. I've adapted and changed and built my self-worth, which I didn't have much of growing up, codependence, low self-esteem. And from that, but again, when I would get angry, like my oldest son, God, you guys, I love him, but he reminds me so much of myself. I didn't get sober until I was 25. My son's about 21, and he's a spitting image of me. And I knew while he was younger, I would plead with my wife at the time. Like she'd let him do anything. And if I said something, she'd go against it. It was like a constant battle. And I saw where he was going. And sometimes like, when I hear he's not doing all that good, like, man, do I get pissed off. It's just like,
See, I get pissed off too,
Especially with
related
the
to
kids.
the kids. Yeah.
When
I'll
it's
get
with the
mad
kids, it's a
about
trigger.
other stuff, but it's like if I get mad at something my ex did, I'm thinking about it and it just gives me this fury. Like for me, a lot of times I think to myself, how dare he? Like, who does he think he is? But when it comes to my kids, when I think about something with that, like, Joe and I, we have the 4 kids. Our oldest and youngest are the ones that we worry about. Like, they're struggling, I guess is the best way to say it. And they're struggling in relation to things that have occurred in the past. And so it's very difficult sometimes for Joe and I, because we understand, I'll tell you straight up, I take responsibility. But I also didn't know. But but I accept it, and I feel like, all right, there's nothing I can do now except try to move forward in the best possible way. But I get so angry, and I feel it in my stomach, or I feel sometimes like this rage just come over me.
I'm very blessed. At first, when I started studying NPD and codependency, there was a couple of psychiatrists that had mentioned like, the codependent and narcissistic relationship is very much like an addiction. I was walking a fine line because through it all, I had to find a way to stay sober, because if I was going to pick up, I knew my kids would not have a chance at all. So anger, I guess, might be the dubious luxury of normal folks. But for like a recovered alcoholic and addict, it could build up into a resentment. So I had to have enough pain in my life to reach back out to God, because I'd gotten far away from him. And with his help and with some honesty, I had to look closer at that anger, because I used to drink to like poison the people that I was angry at and resentful at. So my anger, and I think anger is like a normal instinct, like fear. Like if you're on top of a 20-story building and you're walking on the ledge, the fear is gonna, as long as you got a little common sense, is gonna protect you. I think anger can too, but for a guy like me, or I think anybody that's spiritually sick, like it could build into resentment. Now that's where it could be fatal.
So what would the resentment, what's the difference?
Well, I think the resentment, it comes from the Latin word sentare, which means to feel, and means to refill. So I would play the tape in my head in the past of what she did and all the things that she did. And not only would I replay them, I would actually refill them. Yeah. So that adrenaline, the cortisol levels, all that. And it kept the focus on her and her wrongs and all the things that she did, which is not good, because in recovery, I believe from anything, is I had to look at my part. Like, it wasn't so much to do with her, because I can't change her or do anything about it, but I had to get honest with myself.
But see, I think that's actually the secret to recovery, that you don't initially know, that really it doesn't matter about the narcissist. Like, they're who they are. It's us, the ones. We need to look at ourselves and heal ourselves, whatever was wrong with us, or whatever we didn't have high enough self-esteem or had no boundaries, whatever it is. How do we fix that so we can be the best version of ourselves instead of trying to change somebody else?
Well, I had to ask, like, okay, what was my role in this?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody has a role to play, whether it's your fault or not. Like, when you bring two or more people involved, everybody has a role, and I had to look at my role. And of course, it was easier to say, well, she robbed you, still. Then I had to get more honest with myself to say, okay, that happened the first time. Okay, what happened all the other times, and why did you allow yourself to be abused for 20 years? Yeah. And
guys, that sounds harsh, I know.
It's the truth, though. The rigorous honesty is vital for recovery.
That's part of, Joe and I, once I can nail Joe down, because he works nonstop, but we're going to make a series of videos. We're going to make some on how to recover, how we recovered, doing the inner work, and also what to expect when you're going through a divorce from a narcissist.
Let me give you an example. So, let me see. When she left, she took every penny out of our account, and the next week the electric got shut off. And then the week after that, the car got stolen. And I had these bills coming in, and I was pissed at her. Like, how could you do this and that? Really, when I started taking a look at it, I was like, why don't I, and I've done this in the past when I was younger. I had my own apartment. Why am I so afraid to call up the electric? What's wrong with me calling up the gas? Like, why am I fucking freaking out? And a lot of it had to do with self-esteem, self-worth. Like, I had to reteach myself, because I gave these responsibilities over to somebody that I trusted, even knowing the red flags were just like, but my codependency issues trumped that.
See, that's so painful to me. Like, it's so painful. Does it hurt you? Like, when I look back and I think, oh, Lord, the red flags were everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And then, so really it had nothing to do with the narcissist. I started adding it up when, like, she was gone for about a year and I was still pissed off and depressed. And it's like, if she was the problem, then why am I still miserable? Yeah. So looking at that, then it's like the anger's still there. Now it's just directed towards me. And that's where you have to find the fine line of, it's not so much forgiving the narcissist. You can forgive and forget. It's learning to forgive yourself. But that's the only way that I could change, because that was the biggest problem of all, was my thinking, my own childhood trauma, and learning how to forgive myself. So, yeah, anger is, I think it's there for a reason. Is part of the process of looking at things objectively and finding the truth in it.
I think you and I are both similar, so correct me if I'm wrong on that. It's because I see us trying to improve our life, trying to do these things, trying to work on our family, our relationship, or our obligations, whatever it is we have to do. And we're going along pretty well. And one of us, or both of us, every once in a while, there'll just be like this bump, this anger, this rage. And it's almost always because of the kids. So, what do you do when you, I'll tell you what I do afterwards. Tell me what you do when you feel that surge of rage. How do you put that fire out, essentially?
I've learned, being a father and a friend, first off, not to react to it. Like, my mentor in sobriety always used to say, don't do nothing right now. Just sit on it and take a look at it. So the first thing I would do was all right, calm down. This will pass, and it usually does. And then I would take a look at it when I was calmed down and say, okay, what's really going on here? And usually there's a fear behind there, like, oh my God, my kids aren't going to be okay. They're going to, and I can't control. Narcissists aren't the only ones that have issues. I have issues too about control and denial and projection. So I would look inwards at myself, see the truth, pray and talk to God about it, and then go to the gym, go for a walk, usually like something physical. Like when I used to pet I still do, pet my dog or my cats, the petting motion was like I was releasing this bad energy. And I think the animals have an aura where they don't absorb the energy. It kind of just deflects off of them and goes somewhere. So I would try to find something to release it in a way. And I didn't let the anger, or the pain, motivate me. I tried to have love, self-worth motivate me. So for example, I used to train all the time. I'm getting back into it, but pain was like a motivator for me. I loved it. It gave me what I needed to train twice a day and still work and do all these things. And a gentleman told me about a year and a half ago, he said, Joe, why don't you let love be a motivator? I was just, love though, it doesn't seem like a motivating kind of thing, but it's turning out to be true. I'm starting to definitely acquire discernment, which is the ability to listen to my gut instinct, but wisdom behind there too.
Yeah, see, that's the thing I admire about you, because we're a little bit different. When I want to get back to things I admire about you, but when I'm dealing with this, when I feel a surge of anger, we do things a little bit differently. What I do is I kind of try to talk myself down in a way of, all right, it's all right, Sharon. This terrible thing happened. What can I do about it now? I can't go back. So it's almost like an acceptance of what is. I can't go back in time, and regardless, I'm moving forward, whether I want to or not, whether I'm angry or I'm happy, time's going to pass. So I might as well try to put a smile on my face and try to just do the best that I can. With you, I see, and this is what I admire about you, you right away are able to, because you'll vent to me sometimes, but even while you're venting, you're telling me, no, I know this isn't right, or I'm just feeling this way right now. You're very in tune with what's going on inside of you.
That's why it brings me back to the beginning. I'm very fortunate because when I got sober when I was 25 years old, I had to learn those tools because I dealt with pain and anger by drinking. And not only did I self-destruct, I was hurting the people around me.
Well, the way that I don't think I ever would have thought of this before, you've talked to me about this. There's really, if you're willing to work on yourself and really examine why things are the way that they are, how this could have happened, and accept some things that you don't want to accept are your fault. It's almost like when you're talking about recovery from drugs and alcohol, there are steps you can take to feel better. So if you're angry, if you're dealing with anger, that is going, especially it's worse at the beginning. It kind of gets better, but even then, guys, I've had a really rough week, and I've been very really the last 2 weeks I've been ticked off of my ex in major ways. And I said to Joe one time, I could hurt him. Because you feel so much rage, but and that's okay. I've learned that that's okay. But if you I don't know, if you work on these things and if you really examine everything and accept that sometimes it's just going to hurt, it really can get better.
If anybody ever wanted an idea of how a narcissist feels, take the beginning of your recovery from the abuse. Their underlying frequency vibration is this. They don't have the ability to be honest with themselves, to be accountable to themselves. They don't have the insight or willingness to want to look inward in order to adapt and change. So they have to find some empty garbage can that they can dump all their shit on, and then when that's full, they go to somebody else. So they're constantly running from their own issues instead of dealing with them like us. So I used to be jealous in a way, like, wouldn't it be nice to live in bliss and be totally ignorant and do whatever the hell you wanted and not have, that's a living hell. And anybody that's gone through narcissistic abuse, no, it's just not about narcissistic abuse, it's about codependency, about your low self-worth. That is hell. Well, that's their underlying frequency all the time.
You know, I was reading some things about narcissism earlier, and I wrote down this quote. So this is like the perfect way, I think, for it to end this video. Are you ready?
I'm going to listen.
All right. They don't change. Narcissism is a serious disorder. They're dangerous, selfish, cold, and self-serving. They will destroy you financially, emotionally, and ruin your health.
Yeah, amen to that. So to pretty much put it. But,
that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, and then in the future, you guys, like, that's why I wanted to talk about the recovery process from narcissism, because it's so much like addiction, and it's been notated by many psychiatrists. It's like heroin addiction, the withdrawal, the no contact, all those things.
But as horrible as that is when you say it, that's actually a benefit, because you can get through it. There's a way, right? Like, if you're sick, you know, you can take your medicine. It's like your medicine, right? You're learning about yourself, digging deep, doing what you need to do for yourself, and stop focusing on the narcissist. You really can have like a life when you're in the thick of it. You can't even imagine that things can be so much better.
And the cool part about it is that all you have to do is do it. Like, you don't have to like to or want to.
Yeah.
It's just do it. And if you do it, like, the results will take care of themselves.
Amen. Amen, my man.
Thank you, honey.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight or today.
Mm-hmm.
And you never know when Joe might pop in here or there throughout the week, but if we don't see you before then, we will see you in 1 week.
Yep. God bless you guys. Don't forget to leave some comments if you guys got any experiences that you had with anger and resentment.
Yeah, let us know. We want to hear it. We're all trying to recover together. All right, guys. Have a great week. God bless.
Bye, guys.